Hey everybody, it's your boy Nerdicane. I'm here in the mobile recording studio, about to go into school and do some work today, and want to get this video out. And I've been trying to get this video out for a really long time, and I've never really been able to put it together. But something happened this past weekend that really just galvanized it and really put a bow on the whole thing. And I'll get to that. That'll be the last part that I get to, and I think it's really, really telling. But this video I wanted to do is about ComicsGate. I wanted to nutshell it because it's starting to ramp up, and a lot of people are going to start wondering what the heck this is. And before it can be defined by certain people in the industry, I want to get this out and say, this is ComicsGate. This is what we want in a nutshell, in a very easy to watch, somewhat objective, hopefully only 10-minute video. So what we want, ComicsGate in general, the first thing we want is we're all moving towards the same thing. We want the comics industry to be big again. We want it to be 1990s big. Like, a good book sells 300,000 a month. A bad book sells 25,000. These little like niche titles like Sex Criminals and Kim and Kim, to be honest, we want them to sell 25 to 30,000 a month, because if they're selling 25 to 30,000 a month, that means the industry is so healthy that it can support that. As it is right now, Kim and Kim's averages between 3 and 5,000. A good book, a good Marvel book that is not a special edition or a milestone, is right about 55,000. So we want the industry to be big. Looking back, I did a little bit of looking back on this, and I was researching something else. I was researching G.I. Joe. The G.I. Joe cartoon, and you can check this on YouTube, it's pretty crazy. The G.I. Joe cartoon sprang from TV commercials for the comic book. The animation was so interesting and so eye-catching to kids in that day, and kids my age, back when I was young, that spawned the G.I. Joe animated series. And G.I. Joe animated series was incredible. It was amazing. And I want to get back to that. That's how big I want the industry to be. I want the industry to be so big that in the afternoon, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and I guess Disney, I don't know if Disney has commercials, but we want them to have television commercials for upcoming comics. That's how big we want the industry to be. We want it to be so healthy that everybody can find their audience and everybody can make money. We want it to be so healthy that, like I said, a good book is selling, an average book can sell over 100,000. Right now, if you sell over 100,000, you're top 5 at least for the month. So we want to get back to that. The next thing we want to return to a merit-based industry. We want people in here who love the media, who do quality work, and are good with the fans, because those three things are needed to grow the industry. All of these points that I'm making in this video kind of live off of each other and springboard off of each other. We don't want to see YA authors who have no interest in comic books, can't write comic books. We don't want to see them in the industry. Well, we don't want to see them at the big two. That's not the platform for them. I'm sure we want the industry to be healthy enough to where there is a niche for comic books, slice of life comic books, with no action. I'm looking at you, Rainbow Rowell, Runaways, number 9 specifically. We want the industry to be so big that that's possible, that there is a possibility of finding that audience. I just don't think it's at Marvel. I don't think it's at one of the big two. We want quality work. We don't want Erica Henderson drawing Squirrel Girl. We don't want just lazy writing and lazy art and lack of backgrounds. Marvel should be the industry standard, and it's not anymore. Really, the industry standard is probably DC and these crowdfunded comics are starting to become the industry standard. Speaking of that, getting to crowdfunding, we want the door to be open. If you're trying to get into the comic book industry, we want a clear path. And right now, the path is really weird because we've developed Comic Book Mafia, and they're sort of gatekeepers now. They keep certain people out. They pull people in who really shouldn't be in, and then they try to push people who are in the industry out. And they're really not the people who should be doing that. If you're looking to get into comics, you really should start. It should the order of ascension should be indie title, medium-sized publisher, and then if you're good enough, you get called up to the big leagues, the big three. Now, Image is a little different. Image is like this side door to the industry, but Image is very ideological because Eric Larson is one of the bigwigs there, and he is definitely a leftist ideologue. But everybody that's been well recorded, and his book is weird. His book is one of those weird niche books that sell like 2,000 to 3,000 a month. But yeah, we want an industry that is merit based. People who are good at it, people who want to do it, people who care. And that's really the main thing, is we want people who care about the industry to be strong in the industry. We don't want people who, basically, if you look at these comics mafias and the ones who are screaming Nazi at people and the ones who are trying to push people out of the industry, all of their books are under 10,000. They're just not very good at making comic books that people want to read because they can't get their politics, they can't get their ideology out of the way. And that leads to the next point. We need creators to keep their ideology off the pages and out of the industry. One thing that's sticking in my mind recently is Sana Amanat. She said in an interview she's trying to fix the boy problem at Marvel Comics. There's never been a boy problem. There is no boy problem. She's kind of ignoring the fact that, they say that the comics industry, the buyers are 50-50. They're really not. I don't think. I've been in a lot of comic book shops. I've never been into a shop, unless there's two people in there. I've never been to a shop that's 50-50 male-female. It's probably closer to 70-30. So to say that there's a boy problem and saying that there is a boy problem with your customer base, that's vilifying. Even if it is 50-50, you're vilifying. You just called half of your customer base a problem and that you want to move away from that. You just said, I want to shrink our market. Now, it's varying degrees to how much I think the people above the big wigs at Disney care about Marvel Comics. They really should if they like the MCU, because the MCU is currently living off of stories from Marvel Comics. Now, if there's no more good stories coming down the pipeline, they're going to have a serious problem. But I don't understand after that interview how C.B. Cebulski and Sana Amanat still have jobs. She just called over 50% of the audience the problem, and C.B. Cebulski was just spouting the company line and really not making an impact. He didn't do a whole lot to sell comic books, to build hype. And Sana Amanat, on the other hand, diminished the market by calling half of their market, I think 70%, the quote-unquote problem. The next thing we need, Republicans are not Nazis. Stop portraying them like that. We have a lot of quote-unquote pros in the industry who equate that thing together. They think if you're a Republican, you're a Nazi, and they do everything they can to destroy you and to stamp you out of the industry. Tim Doyle is a great example. Right now in the industry, there are professionals who are afraid to come out as Republican because instantly these ideologues will start trying to destroy them. No more gatekeeping. The market needs to be the gatekeeper. Your ability to sell comics, grow the audience, and push the product, that needs to be the gatekeeper. Getting to that, no more comics mafia. As I said before, the Comics Mafia, the Portland Comics Mafia, these self-appointed gatekeepers in the industry trying to push people out for being Republican. First off, why do they have the power? Because they never really produce anything. We're not getting a Dark Knight Returns from them. They're not producing stories that are going to be turned into movies. They're just kind of meandering along, and they're the ones who should be able to have that niche market, but they're not the ones who should be the tastemakers at the big three. And this is the last one. This weekend I went to a birthday party for the kid's birthday party. This is like your social interaction when you have kids. And Nerdicane Jr., he's a year and a half, and he was at this party, and there's a lot of other big kids. But he went over to a toy box, and he pulled out a Thor and a Star-Lord action figure. And my wife kind of leaned over to me, and she jokingly said, she said, this is the cue. This is the moment where you decide that he's old enough for action figures, isn't it? And you know what? She's not wrong. But him going over there and him picking up Star-Lord and Thor made me kind of realize that this is the other thing that we want. A lot of us who are in this ComicsGate, if you look at the demographic, a lot of us are adults, above 30. We have kids. Another thing that stands out is a lot of us are military as well. But that's what we want. We want an industry that we can be proud to hand over to our children. An industry that's not full of leftist ideologues. Basically, the tastemakers in the industry can no longer be alt-lifestyle freakazoids, extreme leftists, and people who want to vilify white people, and more specifically men. My son is a boy. Sorry, Tumblr, there's only two genders. My son's a boy. I'm Hispanic, but I'm kind of like white Hispanic, but he's looking more and more white, so he's not going to be able to pass as well as I do for Hispanic. I don't want him to look at the comics in the same way they always say, people of color want to look at comics and they want to be represented. I don't want my son to look at comics and see that the only people who look like him are the villains. I don't want that in his head. The big two can no longer be leftist propaganda. Now, we don't want right-wing propaganda. There's a middle ground in there that we have to find in order for comics to survive and then grow. Pros at the big two need social media coaching. We cannot have things like Zdarsky saying all whites are untrustworthy. We can't have Bemis saying eat my ass. We can't have Dan Slott. Dan Slott is horrible with the customer. He's horrible with the public. We can't have Mark Waid doing what he said, doing what he does. And that goes back to the merit-based industry, the open door. Creators should be able to get into the industry and not worry about some supposed giant in the industry reaching down and trying to crush his project before it can even get published. For more on that, go see Diversity in Comics, his battle with Mark Waid. But that's basically the nutshell. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm probably closing in on 15 minutes. And but yeah, that's what I think about this. That's the nutshell. If I missed anything in the comics, let me know. My name's Nerdicane. You can hit me here. You can hit me on Twitter. Thanks for your probably close to 15 minutes. And basically, that's the nutshell. That's what we want. Thanks for watching. Hit a like. Hit a subscribe. Have a good day.